What's going on, everybody? This is Randall Barnes, the founder of HBCU Pulse and the host of HBCU Pulse Radio, in the building for another special edition of the show on today, where we are talking about College Hill Celebrity Edition Season 2 that premiered on BET Plus on May the 11th, and it had a special premiere on BET on May the 10th at 11 p.m. that I knew nothing about because I was watching the Warriors and the Lakers lost, so I decided to go on and watch it before it premiered on BET Plus. So we're going to be talking about episode 1 of the second season, which was a lot to digest, to say the least. So if you all didn't know, I did a trailer reaction to the season 2 trailer, and it was very interesting, but that trailer did the show no justice. Season 2 feels like a whole entirely different stratosphere than season 1. But it's something different about season 2. I really can't put my foot on it. I don't know if it's how the season shot, like maybe they're shooting in another frame rate, or they're getting brighter shots. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's the fact they filmed in the fall. I don't know, because of course in 2022, they filmed in the spring semester, or maybe it's because there's not COVID restrictions. But the show just felt different. Even just the montage that you saw, it just felt different. There were a lot of predictions that I made in the trailer reaction, and I got a lot of them right, but there were some that were wrong. So in the trailer review, I said that they had to have filmed this season after Homecoming because they started to announce that College Hill was coming to Alabama State around mid-October, and Alabama State's homecoming game was the week of October the 3rd through October the 8th. So I was like, they couldn't have been up there because they just announced that BET College Hill, they were going to be doing it. They started to announce, and they showed the cast, and Deadline put out an article that happened in mid-October. But I was wrong, because we immediately saw I was wrong in that trailer reaction, because we saw that they had a bunch of B-roll footage of Homecoming, and we saw that the cast got the opportunity to go to Homecoming. We see that later on in the episode. But we'll talk more about that when we get to when they get on campus. So let's talk about when they got to the house. So New York was the first person to arrive at the cast house, and we already knew what type of energy that New York was gonna be on, because within the first 5 seconds, she says New York is on the MFing campus. Now, the fact that New York came in extra, and she was extra the first 2 episodes, but we're talking about this specific episode, it says a whole lot. And to be honest with y'all, I've not seen New York for like 11, 12 years. I might need to go back and watch Flavor of Love again. I might need to go back and watch I Love New York, because I don't remember New York acting sort of unhinged, because at certain points, New York was unhinged. Like, she seemed like crazy. I hate to say that, but she seemed crazy. And you're gonna see that as you watch the episode and you listen to the recap. It just got worse and worse and worse from New York. I know I was young when I watched these shows, and I probably should have been watching Flavor of Love and I Love New York when I was younger, because I was only like 10. But at the same time, I don't remember New York being this. New York said that she's gonna keep the house in order because she doesn't play. But I guess she clearly didn't realize that Joseline was coming later on, because it was clear in that first episode that Joseline ran the house. Now, here's the thing with New York. Now, New York, for some reason, cannot say curriculum. Curriculum. She can't say curriculum for some reason. She's saying curriculum like it's some complex word when they say curriculum in high school. I think they say curriculum in middle school. She could not say curriculum. And I'm looking at, is curriculum like a complex word? Am I the only one that knows how to say curriculum? Because I was tripping. She was saying curriculum. I'm like, curriculum? Like, what is curriculum? It's curriculum. Like, use the phonetic spelling. Curriculum. Like, it was very confusing that she can't say curriculum, but I'm not even gonna get on New York for that, because it seemed also in episode 2, a little sneak peek, that number 1, Amber can't say it and Parker can't say it. So it's sort of odd that I guess curriculum now is a complex word, but okay. So next up to the house is Quay Rogers. Once again, my trailer prediction was wrong, because as we saw in this first episode, and you're gonna see in the second episode, Quay is gonna be a big part of the show. His personality is gonna shine through, and I actually missed this in the trailer reaction, because I thought when Joseline said that she was gonna beat up Ray J, that she confronted Ray J and sprayed water at him. She actually did that to Quay. So Quay and Joseline in a later episode are gonna get into it. So Quay is actually gonna be a big part of this season, as we can see, and I was clearly wrong. So Quay talks about how he did attend Texas Southern as a regular student, but he blew up on social media and it was hard for him to go to class and move around the campus. So, he dropped out to pursue his goal of really growing his social media career and making money and getting to the bag. And now he's back at Alabama State to continue his education. To be honest, I really can see Quay being the valedictorian because he has the most recent school experience. I just really think he has to stay focused. And I think that there's some things that are going to draw him off of focus and some drama stuff that's going to happen. But I think if Quay stays on focus, look at him to be the valedictorian. And here's the thing, y'all. We got to the drama and the craziness and the childishness really quickly because we weren't even 5 minutes into the show and New York and Quay were already starting trouble. They want to stay together, so they decided to move the name card or someone to another room, and we found out that somebody was Amber Rose, and they moved Amber Rose's card to Ray J's room, and it caused a whole entire difficult situation that actually was not drama-filled because Amber, as we saw, did not find out who did it and why, but it turned into a situation that Quay is like, man, maybe I should just stay with Ray J because I just did the most right now. And I'm like, bro, like the first 5 minutes, I think we in like 3 minutes in after the theme song, after like the little season preview that they had at the start, and y'all already moving stuff around and doing stuff like that. Like, I was like, what the world already? Y'all can't even let the rest of the cast get in before y'all start doing crazy childish stuff? And I honestly think this, and this is the HBCU side of me talking. At this point, College Hill Celebrity Edition needs to get a non-celebrity RA. And if you didn't go to college, an RA is a residential assistant, and typically they're a student that helps the ROC, the residential life coordinator, make sure that everything's on the up and up when it comes to the dorms. They make sure you're not smoking. They do room checks to make sure you're keeping the rooms clean. If you get locked out, they'll help you unlock the door. They assist you with moving in and moving out. They make sure everything's all good when it comes to the dorms. I think College Hill Celebrity Edition needs an RA. Now, of course, in the original College Hill, they did not have an RA in the houses they were in when they decided to move off campus. But I think with what's going on in the house with College Hill, especially with Parker and Joseline, I think they should consider getting a non-celebrity RA to make sure everything is good. So after that, Orion comes into the house. Now, granted, I was really young when Omarion and B2K ran the music industry, but I remember enough to be dangerous. To be honest with y'all, I didn't know he had a brother until I saw the Mario Omarion versus last year. And they did that really cringy watermelon situation. I did not know Orion existed. And I think I've seen Orion before, but he looks so similar to his brother. I thought it was Omarion. But to be fair, I really wouldn't know that Orion existed because he's not really out there like that. Because I'm not necessarily his audience, because he's more so for the women. And then from a musical standpoint, he only released one self-titled album back in 2004, and his latest single was released in 2010, and it featured Tank. So we've not seen a new single from Orion in 13 years. And like I said, I'm not the audience for Orion, God bless that brother, but I guess he's also known for doing naked jumping jacks on OnlyFans. I wouldn't have known that. I'm not the audience for that. And I also saw when I Googled him, he was on Dr. Dolittle 3. That's great. I don't think I saw Dr. Dolittle 3. I think I saw the first 2. I wouldn't have known. I really do not know who Orion is. But he seems pretty cool. And he said that his educational journey consisted of him being homeschooled, so he didn't have a graduation post high school. And that makes him excited to have the collegiate experience. So I think that Orion is gonna be pretty cool. He seems like a good brother. Now he does seem like a ladies' man, and it seems that him and New York are gonna have some stuff going on. And it is increasingly interesting because New York has a fiance that's white that she says she's ashamed of. She says that in episode 2. We'll talk about that when we get to that review in a later video. So next up is Joseline Hernandez, the MVP, the star of the show. Joseline is the same person that she has been. She's the person that you expected. She is the wild card. She makes things interesting. She's gonna talk crazy to you. She's gonna confront you. She's gonna say funny stuff. Like, that is who Joseline is. That is how she got her money. When I saw she was on the show, like I said in the trailer reaction, I already knew what time it was. Now, granted, I'm sure she wanted to do this, and she had a really interesting story that she talked about when she said why she wanted to do this, which I thought that really all of their stories to why they want to come to Alabama State and do this show and actually get their certificate in interdisciplinary studies. I think the stories were amazing and why they said they wanted to do it. But I honestly feel like Joseline was picked because she was going to be the one that was going to cause the most headlines to be created and was going to get the most people to sign up for BET Plus, and that's a fact. So Joseline said it was always her dream to go to college, and she talks about how she grew up poor in what she calls, quote, the slums of Puerto Rico. And she says that if she wasn't raised in the ghetto, she probably would have been an astronaut, a scientist, or a doctor. And I was actually very shocked and impressed at this because I didn't expect for Joseline to give us fodder in the discussion of how your living conditions affects your perception of what can be possible from where you come from. But she's definitely going to be interesting. And she said she came to Alabama State to show herself that she's bigger and smarter and not just a look. And I honestly think that's a great aim. And I hope she commits to it for the rest of the show. But come on, we know she didn't commit to it. And we'll talk about it more later. Now, here's the thing with New York. So Joseline comes in and she sees that there's a PP, like that Parker's going to be staying. She don't know Parker's coming, but Parker's going to be staying with Joseline and be her roommate. So she said the PP might stand for President Putin. And that remark made me think of something. And I'm already thinking and the wheels in my brain are turning. And I realized that there's a contrast in style when it comes to New York and Joseline. I think in New York's days of being in reality TV, when she first started in the early 2000s with Flavor Love and I Love New York and all these other different reality TV shows, I think that it was more character-based. A lot of the folks that were on those reality TV shows back in the day, they were characters. They weren't necessarily acting like real normal people. They were outrageous characters. And I think when you look at Joseline came up at a time where reality TV was, we're going to get someone that's really like that. I don't think Joseline has to play a part of being sort of confrontational, saying what's on her mind, being ready to fight. I don't think Joseline has to act like that or accentuate herself to be that. I think that that's just what Joseline is. So Joseline's being herself. And I think that Joseline, although I have issues with how she acts, Joseline is authentic. But I think that New York was acting inauthentic, and oftentimes I question if New York was just putting on the show. Like, are you being for real here? And you're gonna see that as you watch the show and as I do the recaps. And sometimes I question if New York was being for real. Is she serious? Is she just playing around? Like, I honestly didn't know because she was acting so wild. Like, she was screaming and crying and talking loud and saying these flip comments. Like, I just didn't know if New York was playing a part or if she was really being herself. But one thing we can say about Joseline, you can say a lot of things about Joseline. I never have thought that Joseline was playing a character, and I never have described Joseline in my time of knowing of her and even watching some of Love and Hip Hop. I've never considered Joseline inauthentic. That's one thing I've never said. To be honest, right now, I can't say the same thing about New York and how she's being portrayed in College Hill. Now let's get back to the show. The soundtrack was going crazy in the first two episodes. They had my guy Amon Shumpert, who is not a basketball legend. We'll talk about that in a second. They had him come out to DJ Khaled's Every Chance That I Get. Amon Shumpert was a really good role player. He won a championship with my guy LeBron James in 2016. He was a part of the team that came back down 3-1 to Golden State and won that championship. He was a very big part of it as a 3-and-D wing. So Amon Shumpert, good basketball player. That brother is not a basketball freaking legend. They called Lamar a legend last year. They're calling Amon Shumpert a legend this year. Y'all throwing around the term legend very loosely. And I'd even give Lamar Odom a legend because Lamar Odom was sort of a legendary six-man. Like Lamar Odom, you can call him a legend. But Amon Shumpert ain't a legend. Cool dude. He won a championship. He was great in his role. He played for the Knicks. He played for Cleveland. But after that Cleveland year and he got out of Cleveland, his career sort of floundered. And here's the thing. Lamar Odom was actually pretty old. Lamar Odom was like in his 40s. Amon Shumpert is 32 years old. Like in basketball, that's like being in the middle of your prime. You should still be in your prime. Like there's no reason why Amon Shumpert, if he's a basketball legend, should be on this show. But let's talk about why Amon Shumpert wanted to come to Alabama State. He came to Alabama State because he has a lot of business going on and he wants to learn even more about business to brush up on his knowledge. He also wants to learn how to sew, which is something that, ironically, I also want to know how to do because I ripped one of my favorite shirts and it would be cool if I knew how to sew that thing back together. So learn that, Amon. That'll help you out a bunch. Next up is Parker McKenna Posey from My Wife and Kids. And like I said in the trailer reaction, I really feel as if I'm gonna rock with her because we're around the same age. I'm 26 and she's 27, and she's the youngest on the cast, just like India was last year. Now, she seems to be super cool and above the drama, but when you're in a room with Joseline, you gonna get into some drama. So that was just unfortunate on her part. Maybe she could have moved in with Amber or someone else, but of course she had to room with Joseline. And it was so funny that Joseline asked her when she first came up and they found out they were roommates. Joseline asked her, "Are you messy?" And she said, "No, I'm not messy." Because Joseline, you're messy. So I think that Joseline was sort of projecting, but I also think that Joseline is unaware of who she is and what she does to people. And we'll talk about that more later on. So Parker says that her whole purpose of being at Alabama State is to prove to herself and her family that she isn't dumb. When I heard that, I'm like, you think you're dumb? That's an interesting motivation, but okay, I'll let you rock with that. I don't think you're dumb, but okay. She then expounds on that point by saying she didn't do well in high school because she didn't apply herself. So she says she wants to prove to herself that she can succeed in school, and she also wants to prove to her daughter that she can do whatever she puts her mind to, which I think is really dope and a really great message to give to your daughter. Next up is Amber Rose, who I said in the trailer reaction will be another interesting addition to the cast because I think that we're going to learn a lot about her. She says she always wanted to go to college, but it wasn't in the cards for her. Now, she didn't really expound upon that point, but she did say that she's doing this because she wants to show her kids that you can never stop learning and to always absorb knowledge, and that, quote, their mommy's a rock star. And like I said, I love the motivation for them wanting to do this because I think that they didn't come to be in drama, and I think they are getting paid for this, but I do think that they did want to be here. They did want to be at Alabama State. They wanted to do this, and just hearing their motivation makes me believe that, hey, I think to a certain point, they do want to take this seriously, but at the same time, they're finding themselves getting off track by college life. So the final person to pull up to the house is Ray J, and that shouldn't have shocked anyone because, of course, we saw who was in the season, but that shouldn't have shocked the celebrities because it was clear that Ray J was coming back because Ray J didn't make it on the Texas Southern season, and Amber and Quay told y'all that they watched it. They were watching last season. They watched the whole entire season before they hopped on the series. So they saw how Ray J was moving. He flunked out of Texas Southern's interdisciplinary studies program because, number one, he wasn't paying attention, he wasn't being attentive to his work, and also he was caught plagiarizing his final exam. So they decided not to let him graduate to get the consequences of his actions, and he clearly did get it, but now he's back, and it seems as if he's sort of on that same energy. After the cast introductions, we were off and running on the season. So New York tells Quay and Orion that the College Hill producers allowed her to bring, quote, her baby. And I'm thinking, oh, you're like your child? Like you're gonna have your child here? That's gonna be pretty interesting to see that you're gonna have a child that's in this house. So y'all are drinking and cussing and fighting. That's gonna be interesting. But then we see that it's not a child. It's a stuffed animal that she named Wellington. And Wellington is a support toy for New York, who's grieving the loss of her real dog, Lullaby. She then took that conversation about her dog Lullaby passing away outside of the house, and then Joseline ends up bumping into them as New York explains how she's gained 20 pounds and she's been overeating in her grieving the loss of her dog Lullaby. And of course, Joseline doesn't agree with New York being bent out of shape over a dog, and she says it's dumb to buy a dog that's just gonna die in 15 years. And of course, Joseline is gonna be insensitive about that. That is sort of expected. New York wasn't with it at all, and we got our first mini showdown between New York and Joseline. And I told y'all in the trailer reaction that we were gonna get that. We were gonna get this showdown between the two. I told y'all, I saw saw it as clear as day. They didn't necessarily show it. They showed like one frame of it in the trailer, but you wouldn't be able to tell if you didn't like perceive what was going on. But having Joseline, who's a big personality, and New York, who's clearly a huge personality and character in the same house, they were either going to be super duper cool and tight and run the house together as a tandem, or they were going to be at odds with each other. And clearly they are at odds. Now, the reason why Joseline isn't feeling the dog situation is Joseline has a different approach to dogs culturally. In Puerto Rico, they don't get down like that. Like, dogs are just dogs. They're pets. They're not man's best friend. You don't love on the dogs. You just feed them. You have them around. You pet them. And then you go inside. So Joseline doesn't feel that same connection to dogs that I guess New York does. So we find out New York and Quay's room swapping stunt comes to a head in the next scene when Amber Rose realizes that her and Ray J are in the same room together. And Amber Rose thinks it's the producers trying to cause drama, but she doesn't put two and two together and see that Joseline and Parker are in a room together. And I believe you have Orion and Amon that are in a room together, but only New York and Quay are in a room together. She doesn't find that sort of odd because typically how it would be, you would put the guys with the guys and the girls with the girls. That's how college typically goes. So I'm surprised that Amber didn't put two and two together and pick up what New York and Quay were putting down. But, you know, I can understand her not wanting to be with Ray J because Ray J said something really weird. Ray J said in his confessional, quote, "Staying in a room with Amber Rose is like a dirty-minded man's dream come true. But I don't have that kind of mind." Well, Ray J, you could have kept it to yourself. If you don't have that kind of mind, you should have kept it to yourself. Now, that wouldn't have helped anything because Amber Rose just simply was not going to stay with you. But they then eventually decided to move Amber Rose's mattress and whatnot upstairs. But eventually, Quay was going to sleep on the ground because Amber Rose was going to take the bed, and then Quay immediately saw the consequences of his actions. You shouldn't listen to a Quay because now you're sleeping on the ground, and all you had to do was let Amber have it and say, "Hey, listen, you can stay with New York. I'm going to stay down here with Ray J like you were supposed to." And it's just crazy that these are grown people. Like, these are grown folks. Like, everyone on this show is grown. And I said this last year when I was doing the recaps of College Hill Celebrity Edition Season 1, that when I was in college at Fort Valley State University, I did not even experience folks acting like this. And I know I'm a guy and all the different stuff like that, but I swear on everything, there was drama that went on. There was fights between roommates. There were folks that were nasty and that were dirty and that did real crazy stuff. But I did not see anybody acting as childish as these celebrities are. These are grown people with children and wives and businesses and a variance of experiences. And y'all are acting like this. Normal, typical, traditional college students act more mature than y'all. And it's sort of odd to see that. So they then finally get together and they see that they're summoned to campus to witness homecoming and the homecoming game. So we finally get the opportunity to see the cast interact with Alabama State. They headed to the homecoming game. And I actually really like this part because one of the things I was saying last year is that I wanted to see the celebrities interact with the campus and the students, but I do understand that there were some things that were in place that made it where that wasn't possible. And also Stacey Dash left early, so we couldn't see her interact with the Tiger Sensations. But I wanted to see that last year, to see the celebrities interact with Hump Wednesday and the other customs at Texas Southern. But of course, because of COVID, we didn't get a chance to see that. So this time we see them at the homecoming game, and it was thick in there. It was so many people that were there to see the Alabama State, Jackson State game, and they got the opportunity to interact with the students and the alumni. And I want to just say once again, and I want to reiterate it, that Alabama State is an amazing school with a great game day atmosphere, and their stadiums and facilities are top notch. A lot of folks call it the best in the SWAC. And it honestly is. So they're at the right school. You're at the right place. Parker said this is her first HBCU game. And to be real, you at the right place, especially the Jackson State, Alabama State game, to really truly get that HBCU culture and that experience. So when they got to ASU Stadium, they're greeted outside by Alabama State University's Royal Court and the university president, Dr. Quentin T. Ross Jr., and Dr. Ross ran down the history. It was beautiful. And I think that's the part about College Hill Celebrity Edition that I really like. Because yeah, there's drama. Yeah, there's hijinks. Yeah, there's childishness. But you see that they put in little messages about the school. They put in messages about the history. They put in messages about how HBCU life is important. They put in messages about the civil rights movement and how the celebrities are learning about the history of that institution and also reaffirming their knowledge of Black history. So it's certain things that I see where Tracy Edmonds and the production team is trying to make sure they keep things positive. So it's not just a travesty or a disaster. That's the part that I believe is alluring about College Hill Celebrity Edition, because it's TV. And I know it's on BET Plus, but it's TV. So it has to be entertaining. You have to have storylines. But I think that in lieu of that, that you see them trying to paint Alabama State and the schools that they're at in the future, I can see them trying to paint those schools in a positive light. So the celebrities are loving the scene of the homecoming game, and Quay is watching the halftime performance, and he decides that he wants to be a drum major as he sees the mighty marching Hornets do their halftime performance. And you see Parker looking around, and Parker just enjoying the scene, and she's looking at the stands, and she sees the Stingettes doing stands, and she realizes that she wants to be a Stingette. And for those that don't know, the Stingettes are Alabama State University's football dance team. And New York sees what's going on, and she sees the flag girls going crazy, and she wants to be part of the flag team, and she's up imitating the moves, so New York is going to join the flag team. We then got back to the house where Joseline and New York are talking, and New York says she's going to grief wellness camp because her dog passed away. She then tells Joseline that she lost her daughter, but Joseline doesn't put two and two together, and she doesn't realize that New York is still talking about her dog, Lullaby, that died in March 2021. So hearing that New York lost a quote-unquote daughter strikes an emotional chord with Joseline, and Joseline immediately shows remorse. And I'm sorry, y'all, I do not know how Joseline didn't realize that New York was still talking about her dog. Like, she just told you that her dog died, and you said, oh, it's a dog. I don't know why you're upset. Dogs die anyway. But now you're showing remorse because she said her daughter. So because of the whole entire roommate swap situation, Amber Rose is going to be living up there with Quay in New York instead of Quay just moving down there with Ray J like he was supposed to. So Quay was tasked with moving Amber's bed upstairs so she could stay with him in New York, and he had to do so much work to carry that mattress upstairs, and then Amber had other demands such as getting the bed frame and setting up the room and moving the couch downstairs. And Quay, that's what you get, because you never should have listened to New York. You could have just moved down there. If you want to be cool in New York, y'all could have hung out, y'all could have went outside, y'all could have went to the store, y'all could have took a walk around the neighborhood, but you had to listen to New York being childish and being crazy. And guess what? Now you in the situation where you gotta be uncomfortable and you gotta acquiesce to Amber's demands, because she don't know that y'all did the whole entire thing where you moved the name card and now you gotta stay 3 to a room. Next, we see the cast at the dinner table eating seafood. A conversation that I'm not gonna talk about in this forum because I'm trying to be classy here leads to Ray J and Joseline getting into it because Joseline thinks Ray J disrespected Princess, who's Ray J's still wife and also Joseline's friend. I don't understand how Joseline really hopped to that conclusion that Ray J was talking about anyone else but his wife in the situation, which is a sexual situation in which they were talking and they were really just joking. But I guess Joseline just was getting bored and she wanted to stir the pot a little bit. Now, by this part of the show, I knew that Joseline was throwing the niceties out the window and she was gonna morph into Love and Hip Hop Atlanta Joseline. And the clip where she says, I wanna fight Ray J, like that's the part that was in the trailer that made me think, oh, did she get into it with Ray J? And they really didn't. She was playing, but I know Quay and a couple other folks was like, this girl is doing the freaking most right now. So everybody didn't see it as playing. And let's be clear, Joseline was doing the most. Joseline, just act normal, man. Like, I understand this is you and you're on go and you're confrontational, but that was a little bit too much. And I want to just say that y'all watch the editors of the trailers now when it comes to the previews and going back to the trailer to link stuff together. Man, listen, these editors are really good at what they do and they know what to do to get us to want to watch the show. So they'll pull a fast one on you, because I honestly thought that Joseline was going to put hands on Ray J and I should have known better. But I think that Joseline did throw some hands on somebody, and we'll talk about that in a second. We then switch to the next morning where the celebrities are getting ready to head out for their first day of school. So we see them go to the campus bookstore to pick up some more stuff to wear. They go and get their IDs. Then they head to the orientation class. And I want to say that these are clearly celebrities that have a bunch of money in their account, because college bookstores and college apparel is very expensive. Like, y'all are better than me, because when you in college or you like a normal college student that don't got the bag like that, you got to take out a loan to even get some chips in the bookstore, let alone a hoodie. So when they're in the orientation class, they meet Dr. Tangela Petty, who is the Assistant Provost for Student Success and Special Initiatives. Dr. Petty definitely seems as if she's going to be more involved in this season than the Texas Southern administrators were last season, and for good reason, because there needs to be some authoritative figure to come in and make sure stuff is together. Dr. Petty then goes on to talk about the founding of Alabama State University by the Marion Nine, who were former slaves who raised $500 to buy a building with the purpose of creating a school for Black people. She then informs them that they'll be getting a certificate in interdisciplinary studies upon completion of their courses. She laid out some stringent expectations that she expects to be abided by. And of course, New York has to be the character that she is and do the most and tell Dr. Petty that she's drunk right now and she's not going to be drunk moving forward. And Dr. Petty was trying to be serious, but even she had to laugh because she's like, bro, what is going on with this girl? So I want to spotlight this. Dr. Petty said something interesting that's going to be huge in the episodes to come. She says, conduct yourself with decorum, especially when it comes to drugs, alcohol, fighting. It's zero tolerance. So speaking of fighting, I want to just say, and I'm going to put it up on the screen, I've seen a picture floating around of Amber Rose and Joseline having a fight in the classroom after Joseline questions if Amber Rose wants to be Black. And it looks like Joseline seemed to confirm it on her Twitter that it happened. So it looks like Amber Rose and Joseline get into a fight around Halloween-ish. So I guess that we're right now in the season, episodes 1 and 2, we're at like the start of October after homecoming. And I'm pretty sure around maybe episode 4, 5, or 6, we're gonna see that confrontation. Joseline and Amber Rose get into it on campus. So we might see both Joseline and Amber Rose kicked off. It looks like we might be seeing a College Hill, Virgin Island situation where that was the first Black reality TV show fight, and Joseline's paying homage to the elders with that fight because Joseline just sort of brought that on herself. So I have no other details about it except the picture and also the tweet where I guess Joseline did confirm that a fight occurred. I'm not really the biggest fan of that. I really wish that they could have just moved on without fighting and whatnot, but man, to each his own, whatever. So Dr. Petty instructs the class that they have to learn the alma mater, which is really customary when it comes to orientation. Amber Rose looked at the alma mater on a little sheet and she says that she refuses to learn the alma mater because she's an atheist, and she says the alma mater, quote, talks about God. And she has a specific problem with these stanzas of the alma mater that's on the screen. Before thy trails in Beulah Vale, which God from us did screen, but now we stand on college heights, content with God's decree, for all he does is right and good and makes for liberty. So she had a problem with those stanzas of the alma mater. And I'm like, yo, for real? I respect Amber Rose's beliefs, but she was doing the most here. No one's telling her to get baptized and profess the love of Jesus. No one was telling her that. We're just saying learn the alma mater, which is customary for any college, really any educational institution, but especially an HBCU. It's not like it's a gospel song, we fall down, but we get up. It's only like, 5 or 6 stanzas that even alludes to God. So it's like, bro, like you can't learn the university's alma mater, which is a big part of college life. The university alma mater is important for all students to know. And I say that as a former freshman orientation leader of 4 years at Fort Valley State University that knows both stanzas of my alma mater, number one, and also I taught the alma mater both stanzas to my freshmen. The alma mater reinforces the history of the school, and it's a unifying message of love and loyalty to that institution. And like I said, I understand her beliefs, but that's something that's very key to an HBCU to learn the alma mater. And I think she's sort of disrespecting HBCU culture by not learning it. But it was no issue to Dr. Petty. She agreed to change the assignment, and Quay has a fit over finding out that Amber Rose was an atheist. And here's the thing about atheism. I'm gonna get really personal here. I look at atheism differently because I have someone close to me in my family that identifies with atheist beliefs. I honestly believe that we should respect each other's beliefs and differences and just be tolerant to each other. However, we're gonna see that both Quay and Amber stop being tolerant and they go another way really in episode 2. And of course, we end off the class with New York not knowing what stanza meant. And she asked, is stanza like stanza up? And it was funny, but I just refuse to believe that New York is this clueless. She's a grown woman acting like this. I just can't wrap my mind around the fact that New York is this clueless. Like, she has to be playing a character. Like, she's doing this on purpose. Like, she's trying to be the class clown. And Joseline said something that I think we all can agree on. New York is aggravating and we need her to zip it. Joseline, we ride with you on that one. She's definitely doing too much. So later on, the cast heads back to the house to decompress after the first day. We see Orion and Amber having a talk outside, and this is the scene from the trailer where Amber talks about how she grew up. She said she's from South Philly and had to deal with the perils of being a biracial child in an all-black school, and she was regarded as a white girl by her classmates throughout her life. And she also said that people want to fight her, and she fought every day, and she even resorted to bringing a steak knife to school to keep her safe. And number one, I think this is important. I feel as if Amber is unpacking trauma here, and this is planting seeds to what she said to Joseline and spoke about in general in episode 2. And I think this sort of illuminates how she feels about religion and Christianity, which I'll talk more about in the next video. And I want to say I was totally wrong in the trailer reaction about the sequencing based on what happened, because I thought that this conversation happened after her and Joseline got into it, but it seems to be a conversation that happened way before Joseline and Amber got into that fight that we clearly see is going to happen in that classroom. But I also think it plants seeds for that too, because Joseline pushed her buttons because she said something that she has heard her whole entire life. And Amber said, like, no, we fight over here. Like, I fought my whole life over folks calling me white girl, so let's go. And then it led to what it led to. So after that moment, we get to the biggest moment of the episode, the well-anticipated standoff between two reality TV show titans that I told y'all was gonna happen. Joseline Hernandez versus Tiffany New York Pollard. It wasn't the circumstance that I thought we would get. I thought it might be something else that would happen, and it would be maybe something dealing with college that would cause them to get into it. This is over a dog, but we got the confrontation anyway, so this is one thing I was really right about. So Parker told Joseline that New York was referring to her dog when she said her quote-unquote daughter died. So this upset Joseline because she felt as if New York was doing the most and made Joseline feel as if her real daughter died. So Joseline felt manipulated. Now I want to say this again. New York told her when they first moved in what she was in grief over. Now sure, New York didn't specify that she was talking about her dog when she was talking to Joseline in that second conversation. But it's confusing because Joseline couldn't put two and two together. So Joseline goes and confronts New York for what she thinks was New York lying, and they get into it. They literally were arguing over a freaking dog that passed away at this point a year and some change prior. Then you have New York giving her best Oscar-winning performance. She's crying, oh my God, I lost my dog. It means a lot to me. And I'm just like, New York, I don't believe you. I really don't believe that you're really emoting, that you're really showing emotions. You're acting like you're crying, but you're wiping your eyes and there's no tears coming from it. You're faking, you're embellishing, you're being a character. I'm sorry. I can't take her seriously. It just seems like everything that she does is so over the top and exaggerated that you don't know when she is being serious or when she is playing. And I honestly, like I said, I can understand being down about your dog passing away, especially when you build such a connection with them over what she said was 13 years. But is she really down bad about the dog, or is it all just an act to get attention? Joseline then asked in the confrontation how she can help New York get over the grief. And should she just not talk about it? I mean, I think that would be a good idea to not talk to her about it and just move on. And then New York says that the way she could help is by leaving. Joseline then feels as if New York is trying her, and things go totally left, and things turn into Love and Hip Hop Atlanta all over again. New York starts yelling, please, please, and she yells out please one last time, and she disrupts all the peace in the house like a mad woman. And Joseline says she's not trying to hurt her, but she really needs to go talk to a psychiatrist. Now, I don't know if that's what Tiffany needs. I'm not a mental health provider. I don't know what's going on. I just think Tiffany needs to stop doing the most. Now, this might just be her, and clearly I was too young to be watching Flavor of Love because I couldn't really understand what was going on and who Tiffany really was or New York really was. But I don't think she needs a psychiatrist. I just think that Tiffany's really doing the most right now. And here's the thing, because Amon did a confessional where he said that he also thought that Tiffany was talking about her dog, and he went out to comfort Joseline after she left and went outside to cool off, and said that he also thought that she was talking about her daughter. But I think this might be me looking at things from a TV perspective instead of trying to rationalize what they're going through in the house, because I don't understand how any of them, including Amon, did not know she was talking about her Dog-ter. And Parker knew. So how did Parker know? Because the people that knew initially that she told was Quay and Orion. So how did Parker know? Did Orion or Quay tell Parker that she was actually talking about her dog instead of her daughter? It was just really odd, and I guess I never will really know because I'm not in that situation, and I'm watching a finished product where I'm seeing all angles of the story. So Joseline goes into her and Parker's room to compress at 4:30. That's what we saw. And she locks the door. So we then find out 2 hours have passed and Parker can't get into her room because Joseline won't open the door, and we see her repeatedly knocking into 8:20 p.m. that night. And Parker said in that first time we saw her, she said, I got to knock to get into my own stuff. And I'm trying to figure out, is there a reason why Parker doesn't have a key to the room? I just find that really odd, and that's the reason why I say we need a College Hill Celebrity Edition, non-celebrity RA, because that RA would unlock the door, wouldn't they care? I'm telling you, like, these RAs don't play. The RA would have been like, hey, I can fight too. You know, that's how RAs are. The RAs is like, listen, you can be mad, you can feel whatever you want to feel, but this door gonna be unlocked. Like literally. You probably would have, Park probably would have to pay a little bit of money, because when you get locked out your room enough times, you gotta get it unlocked, you gotta pay money typically. But that RA would have made sure that there was no locking going on. They would have knocked first. If the door wasn't open, they would have opened that thing up, and Parker would have been in there. So the celebrities met outside of the house to decompress from the situation. Amber says that her and Joseline have DM'd before and exchanged pleasantries, but she didn't expect her to be like this. And my entire thing is how? So you're telling me that Amber has never heard of Joseline's antics on Love and Hip Hop, or seen them, seen a video, seen the double homicide comment? Like, you're telling me that you've never seen that? You can't be this oblivious to who Joseline is, because why is Joseline even famous? She's famous for Love and Hip Hop, and she's famous for the way that she acted and all the confrontations she got into with Mimi and all these different folks on Love and Hip Hop Atlanta. So you're telling me that Amber didn't have prior knowledge of that? So Parker, as we saw, continues to knock on the door for hours and hours, and it's 8:20, and she gives up, and Joseline's dead wrong for this whole entire thing. So Parker heads downstairs and goes outside and tells the rest of the celebrities what's going on. She can't get into her room. And then Ray J says, let's have a house meeting. And I knew that stuff was gonna go left, because they had a house meeting last year that resulted in them kicking Stacey Dash out of her room to get her out around other folks to make sure that she's communicating and connecting with everyone. And that turned into a big old problem. So I knew that this house meeting was not gonna go no better. So Ray J goes up to Joseline and Parker's room and says that Parker keeps getting locked out, but she doesn't know how to tell her. So Joseline then gets mad when Ray J tells her that and intimates that Parker is being messy. And I don't know if the editors maybe missed out on some stuff or something along those lines that maybe could give me more sympathy for Joseline, but it just seems like Joseline's tripping, because all Parker's trying to do is get into the room that y'all are sharing. And it seems as if Parker, based on the editing of the show, and maybe this is really how it was, it seems as if Parker didn't have the opportunity to let Joseline know that she was getting locked out, because Joseline was locked inside that room for hours. From 4:30 to about 8:20, she was in that room for nearly 4 hours on the dot. So at what point in time did Parker have the opportunity when she's knocking on the door saying it's PP to let her know, hey, I'm locked out the room. Could you let me in? I need to get my stuff. So we discover that Joseline's line in the trailer about if people keep pushing her, they'll get what they're looking for is directly correlated with Parker being locked out of her room. And that was another thing I was right about in the trailer reaction. Joseline, no one is trying to come for you. No one's trying to fight you, except maybe Amber, but no one's trying to fight you. And Amber is fighting you because you came at her. Like, people are just trying to chill, to get their education, to meet some new people. That's all they're trying to do. And you're going left and you're turning things into something that it's not. They're not trying to come for you. You are coming for them. And Joseline is clearly oblivious at this fact, and it is infuriating me already. So Joseline decides to be difficult in the meeting and not listen, and says that Parker is her ex-roommate and that she's a, quote, sneaky fake young lady. And she actually said sneaky fake young lady, and doesn't want her sleeping in the same room that she's in. And then Joseline tells Parker to go find somewhere else to sleep. And Parker says, bet, but you can tell she's clearly pissed. And Ray J said in the confessional that Joseline's making it feel as if they're at Rikers Island, they're in the penitentiary, and I couldn't agree enough. And I honestly just feel like Joseline needs to unpack who she is and why she gets into the situations that she's in. Because most of what happened this episode is on her. The only thing I'll let her ride on is the Tiffany thing, because Tiffany was indeed doing the most. Now, Joseline says to end off the show that she's here to go to school and not make friends, and the people are going to see the real Joseline. And with that final little scene where she talks about that, we see the answer to my question that I posed in the trailer reaction. Is Joseline going to be a problem this season? Yes, she is. She's not going to be a problem. She's the problem. And the episode ends, but episode 2 did premiere with episode 1 on BET Plus. And we'll talk about that on next video. But thank you so much for listening to my review of College Hill Season 2, Episode 1. It's only going to get better from here. Make sure to follow HBCU Pulse on Instagram and YouTube at HBCU Pulse, Twitter and TikTok, the HBCU Pulse. Make sure to listen to HBCU Pulse Radio on SiriusXM, Channel 142, HBCU, every Friday at 5 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Central. If you want to donate to HBCU Pulse, donate any amount to $HBCU Pulse or paypal.me/HBCU Pulse. And I will see you on the other side, and I'll catch you in the next video where we're talking about all things College Hill.
Like what you hear?
Yeah.
Subscribe to HBCU Pulse Radio on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. Also, head to HBCUPulse.com to stay up to date on what's going on in the HBCU community. Thank you for listening to HBCU Pulse Radio.